On this episode of Performance TV, Tommy and Kathy are back in the garage, and the guys from AJE are here to help us outfit a 66 Mustang body with a killer new suspension.
Welcome to Performance TV. If you've got an old muscle car like this 66 Mustang we have here, you want a better ride, more performance, better braking, you need a suspension upgrade, and that's what we have for you today on Performance TV. Tell us about it, Kathy.
While we may be working on a 66 Mustang today, AJE Suspension has you covered for all different makes and models, all the different years of Mustangs. And Anthony, you have a background in racing, and you saw the need, after using a lot of this stuff yourself, of the improvements that needed to be made.
Yeah, especially on the old Mustangs. They were an upper and lower A-arm setup, and we just decided that a front steer rack and pinion with a strut front end was the best solution to make it a good handling and updated version of the Mustang. And
what about all the different engine combinations that are available today? Am I going to be stuck with just a couple of engines to choose from, or what can you do for us?
No, we have designed our own engine mounting system so we can mount any motor you want. Ford, Chevrolet, we have mounts for just about anything.
Well, as you mentioned, Ford and Chevrolet, we see all of this product here, and 67, 62 Novas all the way through. What are some of the other vehicles that we can cover?
Well, we cover the Mustang mainly, front and rear suspension both, but we handle A-body, B-body, E-body, Mo-Power stuff. We had third and fourth gen Camaro. We have the early Chevy 2 front ends, and we've got some more on the plate that are coming.
Well, we have a lot on Tommy's plate over here. Is this pretty easy to bolt in?
It just bolts in. There's some removing of sheet metal, but basically it bolts in.
Well, let's check it out, and they're going to show us more.
With Jim from AJE. And Jim, we're getting ready to put the front suspension, the K-frame into this thing, but first we have to remove the factory motor mounts because yours comes with a motor mount. Now, the one thing I like, they're not hard to get out, are they?
No, just a good spot weld cutter, a grinder with a cut-off wheel. You can just pretty much tear it out. As long as you don't tear your original sheet metal up too bad, that's the biggest thing on the frame rail itself.
And it's going to give us a lot more room in the engine bay there.
Yeah.
You can put a different kind of engine. That's why you have a universal engine mounts.
That's why we do the universal engine mounts. Plus, we also offer these fabricated towers. Opens up a lot of that bulky area that those original towers took up. So we can get them new Coyote 5 liters that have the 4-valve heads on them. They're wide motors for such a little cubic inch.
Right, you covered all bases. You can put a big motor in these things.
Yeah, we can go with the big ones.
All right, let's get this K-member put in here.
Let's get it up in there.
Now, we had to drill some holes and knock the engine mounts out, but tell the people, how do you locate for the holes?
Well, if you notice the 4 holes inside, or on each side of the frame rail, there's 2 holes. We take that center line of those holes. When we use it, we center line off of our mounting holes for the actual K-frame. Once we find them 2 center lines, we just transfer our holes and drill them up in through the frame rails. Put the crush sleeves in with a couple tack welds to hold them in place. And then simple as getting the bolts in it.
So right, and you also install a crush bushing in the frame.
Yeah, that's the crush sleeves. Like I said, we tack weld them in place just so we know they're secure and they don't come back out. The nice thing about the frame is the way it's set up, it is slotted side to side. So we can get the track centered in the car, not have one side of the car hanging with the tires out, the other side up underneath the car.
That's what your systems are all adjustable. I like that.
Yeah, we try to take a lot of the variables that was played into them early 60s models cars out of the equation so they still look good. Now I'll take a quick peek. I mean, like I said, just for visual references on the centering of this frame. If it's hanging out from underneath each frame rail the same amount, tighten it up.
That's good. All right, well, while Jim and I finish tightening these bolts, we're going to take a quick break here on Performance TV.
This edition of Performance TV, presented by ARP, is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. AMS, because we care. The East Coast Drag Times Hall of Fame, coming to Henderson, North Carolina, October 17th through the 19th. Diesel domination. Get 4 to 7 mile per gallon gains today. And by AJE Suspension, committed to quality and affordability since 1990.
Welcome Welcome back to Performance TV. Tommy and Jim have the K member installed on our 66 Mustang. We have a lot more that we need to make sure that they install and hang on the front. AJE suspension. We're going to go right to the A-arms, and this is the street version.
Yeah, this is a street version. This hole here is so you can hook your factory sway bar up, or you can do an upgrade on the sway bar to factory specs, whatever you want to do. We also have an adjustable A-arm that we can use for racing that will give you a little extra caster adjustment.
Well, you have lots of different adjustments, and we're going to look at something else we're going to be installing, and that's our strut over here.
Yeah, this strut here is our unique design. It has installed height adjustability, it has ride height adjustability, and it has camber adjustability. Not
just for the Mustang, you're making these for all the different systems you have.
Yeah, we make them for the, say, 3rd gen Camaro, we make them for the Chevy 2, we make a lot of different ones.
Well, I can't wait to see Tommy and Jim get these installed on our Mustang.
We got the K-frame put in now, so next step, A-arms. Let's get this A-arm put on. Just slide it up in there and stick our bolts in. You want to slide the bolts in?
Yeah.
Once I get lined up.
You get it on lined up.
There we go.
Okay, we're going to take that back one and I'll get the front one.
We're not going to tighten this up all the way. We want to just
let's snug them up so we can get everything in position, and that way we're not binding any of the bushings or dragging a lot, so it makes things move a little bit easier till we go to finally tighten everything up at one time.
Makes it easier to put the strut on.
Yeah.
I'll tighten these up. You want to grab the strut? We're going to do it next, right? All right, bolts are tight. What's next step?
Now we're ready to stick the strut in. We already removed, there's originally a sheet metal ring they had to locate the factory springs in here. We had to take them out, of course, to install our caster camber plate. And this thing, it just slides up into the original mounting holes. Up on top, get in position, put the nuts and washers on it. We have this eccentric caster camber plate, so when it comes to final alignments, piece of cake with a 1/2-inch drive ratchet and extension, swing that eccentric, gets the camber set to where your tires stand straight up and down. Okay, we got this T-slot here that gives you that plus and minus camber setting in the front end. With ours, we got the spindles over here, which are a drop spindle and hub assembly. These sit right on the A-arm, so let's put these on the ball joint and then we'll stick it right on the strut. Swung around here. Now the bottom one is just a straight bolt, so that's pretty much what we're pivoting off of.
All right.
So we're gonna stick that in there.
Pressure washer?
Yep.
All right.
And grab the other bolt and nut with the T-washer. Like I said, and with these being the SN95 style spindle, we know these originally had a 15-degree camber angle on them, or 17 degrees. So we needed to add 2 degrees because of our positions. Put that T to the inside, stick the bolt in it.
And that gives you your angle.
Yep. And then that sets the camber angle on it, so it's initially set. Then we got the fine adjustment with the caster camber plate.
All right, so the suspension is going in the car. Now, when you need to be able to drive it, and we want to be able to drive it nice and smooth, and AJE, you have a complete design here, no matter whether we want to go with power steering or with manual.
That's right. This one happens to be a manual rack and pinion, but we also install our bump steer kit so you can fine tune that so we can get 0 bump steer in it. And we can do that for the power or the manual rack, either one.
And that is whether it's a factory one or an aftermarket, or again, like so many of your other items, we can really tailor this to whatever our project, kind of lends itself to.
Right, and these bump steer kits, these threads right here, they can be metric or inch, so we have kits for either one of them.
Okay, well, Tommy and Jim, they're going to get this installed for us so we can be able to steer this puppy.
Well, it's time to put the steering on. We can finish up the front end of this suspension up here. So we got a rack. Now, this is a manual rack, correct?
Yeah, we're using the manual version on this project. There's also options. We can switch it out and do a power one if you want that power assisted steering.
So yeah, also, you want more options.
More options and more options. Just get your head spinning in all different directions. There's also either using the standard Fox body like this one is for the manual or power racks. You could use the 94 and up Mustang ones also. The difference is when it comes to these bump steer kits that we offer, The thread pitches, the bump steer kits for the Fox bodies are SAE style threads. The later years they went to the metric threads.
All right, now bump steer. What's bump steer? I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Explain me bump steer, would you?
Bump steer is a situation of when your tie rod ends and your spindles with your A-arm is moving in two separate arcs. So what happens as the front end is extending out or compressing up into the car, it can create the toe end to change on you. So if you're driving down the road, the tires start turning in and out. Not big of an issue, but if you ever get messed out of shape a little bit and you have to go to make that correction, well, if you got a bump steer issue, your correction could instantly become an undercorrection or an overcorrection, and that can cause a lot of problems driving it there.
So you've got it all figured out in geometry.
Yeah, we
here.
set this one up where we drop the racks down to get them as much oil pan clearance. So if they're running in big motors with the big oil pans.
Yeah, you're getting this out of the way.
And then we also do the bump steer kit, like I said, that way we can compensate a little bit for that. Plus with the spindles and everything, we just try to keep all of those in check so you don't see it when it's finally assembled.
All right, well, let's put this
Let's
in.
get this one tightened up. I got the spacer set.
I'm gonna tighten this up. When we come back from more Performance TV, we're moving to the back.
This week's industry update, we're going to be able to see a whole lot better. As you look at the big difference on our Silverado, from one side 800 lumens and the lifetime LED 3200 lumens on the other side. Tommy did a nice job on the install.
Well, thank you. And they also make a dual bulb here that has the low beam and the high beam all in one. If your truck has a just low on one top and high on the other, you put in this. If it's all in one, you have one in here. The whole kit comes complete, everything you need to change them out of the factory.
Absolutely, and as you found, the LED driver plugs into the factory harness, right into the light. Now, this is a newer light from Lifetime LED. They have a couple of different brightnesses to choose from.
They have a replacement tail light. It's a tail light, a stop light, and a backup light, but they're side specific. You got a side marker light as well.
I mean, they just have a little bit of something for everybody.
I mean, if you want to really see out in front of you, these here are universal mount. You can mount them in and mount them on the front. They also have a mount on the back. You can put them up on top, wherever you want to put them.
How about this? Dual light. You like
yeah,
the white,
dual.
or guess what else we have for you? We have amber.
There's over 100 different models of LED lights.
So many to choose from, so many different lengths. I mean, everything you could possibly think of. LifetimeLEDlights.com to find out more about what they can do for you.
Performance TV, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Performance TV. We've got the front suspension installed now on our Mustang. We've had a couple features underneath here in the middle. One of them is the AJE's universal transmission mount. What's really unique about this is no matter what transmission you pair with any engine you want to put in this car, this transmission mount's going to work. It slides back and forth with slotted holes in the mount, so no matter where the tail section is, you can line it up and bolt it right in. Very cool feature they have. Plus, this is a unibody car. You want to stiffen it up a little bit, so we put some subframe connectors in here to tie the rear frame to the front frame and give the car a little stiffness, because we're going to put some power to this thing. But first, we got to put some rear suspension in here. So Kathy, what are we putting in?
Now we're getting back to the business end of the car, where we're going to be able to take the power, put it down, and have a lot more drivability in the car, and especially some good 60-foot times.
Yeah, that's correct. The old Mustangs come with a rear leaf spring setup. With this, when you bolt it in, we convert it over to a 4-link setup.
Oh, that makes all the difference in the world, and there's so much adjustability.
Oh yes, these are right here are for our upper control arms, which are adjustable, so we can adjust pinion angle. Then we have an anti-roll bar attachment point here. We have our shock mounting attachment point here. So everything's just a bolt in. Just 6 bolts is all it takes to install it.
Oh wow, I cannot wait to see Tommy and Jim get this puppy put in.
The first step before we install the rear suspension, we had to remove the original shock mount in here.
Yeah, we just cut the spot welds out, take the original shock cross member out of the car to get us extra room above the rear end housing so we can get the new cradle up in there.
After we get that done, you have to locate some mounting holes. Now, explain to me, Jim, where we put these holes and why.
Well, we've got a fixture that we use to actually get a base location on the hole locations. Then we drill the holes out and we put the crush sleeves in this frame rails just like we did underneath the front. That way we're tightening down on the frame rails and not collapsing them.
All right, so we slide this up in there. A couple bolts and we're good, right?
Front bolt.
Now the one key feature I see on this is really neat, and I think it needs to be pointed out. It's adjustable. No matter how wide the frame is, you can use the same cradle here and just open it up for the frame width.
Yeah, we done that. That was one of the things we added to it, just for the fact that, you know, we're talking about unibody cars that was generally built in the early mid 60s, and just to give you a wide array of tolerance windows that they can give you. Got that one started?
Got that one started, now ready for the second
Go
one.
back up in with the back ones. Now the frame has threaded inserts on the ends of the main tubes in the front. Then with the shock mount being in the back, we just went with the nylock nut, and there's regular bolt to get them in there. And tighten them up now. And again, like on installing any of these parts, it's easier to get all the bolts started in place before you ever tighten that first one up. Because if you're off just a little bit, you may get one tightened up, and just the pull of the general parts may keep you from being able to start the other bolts in place.
Just making sure everything fits.
Yeah, we get everything pre-fitted before we tighten it up. And then once we get that tightened up, then draw it out to the frame rails. Then we can tighten the set bolts up on this to lock it in place.
All right, we get this cradle all tightened up. We got to take a break. When we come back, let's see what we're going to hang in here.
This week's quarter-mile quiz question comes from Ira in Kentucky. Ira wants to know, why is it that some parachutes are mounted at an angle?
When the pilot goes out, it's at an angle so that the clean air will catch it, and then it'll be easier and more effective for the parachutes to blossom.
If you have a question for the ARP quarter-mile quiz, send it to the address on your screen. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive an ARP quarter-mile quiz shirt. This edition of Performance TV, presented by ARP, is being brought to you by ASSENMACHER Specialty Tools, professional tools for the professional technician. Enginetech, the engine builder's source. Blizzerator, obliterate winter with the Blizzerator. And by BushTech, the world's finest motorcycle cargo trailers.
Welcome back to Performance TV, where we've been installing all new suspension on this 66 Mustang, and now we are ready to do the adjustability part in the rear end area on our 4-link.
Right here we have an example of our polyurethane bushed lower control arm, and then our adjustable lower control arm. This one is more the race version, this is more the street version.
Oh yeah, because you can see we're pretty much just stopped here. This is going to be bolt on, but here we have, once again, back to that adjustable part.
Yeah, we have to adjust. And then here we have two different choices on the uppers. This one here is polyurethane bushed, but you can still adjust pinion angle. This one here is our double adjustable. You have adjustable pinion angle change here, and you also have a bushing replacement here in the spherical rod-end style attachment there.
And the one thing that we don't want to do is roll, and that's where we're going to get back into our anti-roll bar.
Yeah, this is a bolt-in. It bolts into the factory brackets off of a Fox body or SN95 rear end, bolts right underneath the rear end, and this attaches to the subframe, which I pointed out earlier.
All right, we want to get this thing buttoned up, so we're going to have Tommy and Jim get these parts installed.
All right, Jim, let's put this rear end in here. What do we got to do first?
Well, we'll have to get the rear end up into place so we can start placing the control arms in their proper spots. Get this front up. Let's get it jacked up where it needs to go.
All right, these control arms are going to go in here where the leaf springs used to be.
The lower control arms go into the original leaf springs on this system right here. That way it just simplifies some of the install for some of your guys that already have the cars. You got yours about up in position? Right, let's bring it on up to height here. Okay, now we'll get the bolts for the upper control arms. There's a bolt, nut washer. Here's the nut washer for the front control arm mount. Now we just need to tighten them up, snug everything up some. We'll start to snug up these lowers first.
Not a lot of cutting and welding or anything like that. We just knocked the spot welds off and chiseled those out.
Yeah, the spot welds is the main cutting, and then, like I said, drilling the holes to install the rear cradle. Oh, got it drilled up. All right. Drop it.
All right, got the jack out of here. You
slide it over and I'll bring the inner roll. This is what keeps that body from twisting and moving around. Just take.
All right, we're gonna stiffen it all up.
Yeah, this will make the car help corner flat, and slide this insert in.
Right there.
Bolt come in from the outside. As far as finally attaching this, you really can't attach it till the shocks are into place.
All right.
So once we get the shocks ready to go, or we can get shocks for the car, we'll finish attaching it.
All right. Well, this isn't the only thing AJE has. Let's check with Kathy with everything they've got.
Well, there you have how great it can be to change the suspension on a car and make it more drivable, be able to put the power down better. And we know not everybody can go out and find one of these Mustangs, Anthony. How'd you guys find this one?
Well, this one comes from Thoroughbred GT. This is all brand new sheet metal, and when we come together as two companies to make a rolling chassis, it just was a natural fit between Thoroughbred GT and AJE.
You know, I heard something that there might be a convertible in the works, too.
Yeah, they offer a 66 convertible, and I think down the road they're doing a 67 Mustang, too.
And, of course, with some great suspension products underneath it.
That's
as well.
right.
You know, and not just the Mustangs. You take a look at their catalog, which is just absolutely amazing. We talk about the early Chevy 2s and the Camaros and so on and so forth. Of course, you can just go check out their website. It's right there on the bottom of your screen. And that's all we have time for this week, folks. A whole lot more next time around here on Performance TV.